Today, we're going to be talking about a creator that I did not ever expect would get embroiled in an AI controversy. And that creator is Hank Green, who is an extremely popular education creator who's been making videos and books since forever, honestly. And in terms of studying for college and stuff like that, I relied on a lot of his videos actually. So let's delve into this entire controversy and break it down. And before we get started, again, please don't send hate to any parties involved. And also look at how cute my son Corny is. So everything kind of kicks off with this video from Complexly, which is actually an organization that Hank and his brother John co-founded, and they owned it up until 2026, and then it was restructured into a nonprofit actually this year. But they have a series called Ask Hank Anything, and this was the video that kind of kicked off the whole controversy. So this episode features another creator called Soupy Time, and they're going on the questions together. And what people notice from this video is that in the little bottom corner, there are some fact check notes that come up. And people really picked up on the fact that there were a lot, again, of fact checking notes flagging things that Hank said as incorrect or that they couldn't verify it. Here's a couple more examples that a Twitter user pulled up, another one. Here is another one. We buy the logic here, but can't confirm the science. Essentially, he got roasted. And a lot of people in the YouTube comments also noticed this as well. And notably, a lot of people felt like Hank might have been reading some AI-generated answers, and that is why a lot of his responses the fact-checkers couldn't fully verify. And Hank Green put up a now-deleted tweet where he instead links the Reddit page Nerd Fighters. So visiting that, this was actually the tweet that was deleted, where Hank says, "I produced that episode, under a ton of pressure, so I went and checked my process from start to finish. I did use ChatGPT for research on this script, and watching it, I definitely get an AI feel. So I think it's fair to say I was relying too much on generated notes. That's a thing I've been doing, and it's a bad habit at a time when I've overcommitted myself. But I just went to the notes and the script for this, and neither contained the 'I appreciate the pushback' line, so that particular moment was an ad-lib in reference to my guest pushing back on me saying the words were purely made up." And in the comment section, Hank elaborates a little bit more, writing 3 things to start. 1, I'm mortified that I have let so many people down, and I think I understand how this happened. 2, I'm gonna change things about how I make stuff. And 3, Complexly's AI policy is public and well considered and adhered to by the whole team. I think it's worth reading. So linked is the AI policy, and the AI policy essentially is AI makes up a lot of stuff. We respect creators, and we recognize that AI can't replace creators, and that tools cannot generate ideas or reflect what biases they have, and we must have ownership of our content. So they say that they will not produce videos written, edited, or fact-checked by AI. They will not produce videos containing illustrations or animations created by AI trained on non-consensual datasets. When AI tools trained on consensual datasets to create visuals, they will ensure they're not misleading viewers. And 4, they may use AI tools to suggest ideas for scripts or visual elements, for example, and use it for preliminary research. And this was updated in 2023. And elaborating a little bit more in his comments, Hank says that he has been relying too heavily on AI as a research aid, and that it can be useful to discover research papers he didn't know existed, but that it has been a detriment to his work because it didn't give him the freedom to find his own way around the topic. But he highlights that he uses AI to find papers and topics to research, but you're still getting his version of his take. And he agrees when people say that he's been diluting himself. And then he delves a little bit more into his stance on AI. He highlights that he's not an AI hater, but that he is disturbed on the way the models were trained. And that 2, these companies are consolidating economic power way too fast, and that everybody should be scared, and that it is contributing to the climate problem. And that he's been really feeling the pressure to make a lot of things, but he acknowledges that a lot doesn't mean it's good. And notably, he writes here, "But mostly I need to come to terms with the fact that the level of dopamine I've been getting from interacting with LLMs, with doing more and more and more and more, is not healthy for me or good for the world. It is careless and has disconnected me from where people are on this." What's interesting is he also adds, "I was talking with Catherine, his wife, last night, and she didn't pull any punches, and neither did his brother. Neither think that he's been healthy and his usage of AI. So what is he going to do in the future? 1, he's going to post less on his channel called Hank's channel, and he's pausing his other channels Smush and 4x3. And he ends, "I'm very sorry for harming the thing this is all based on." And about this whole situation, people are very, very torn. There's a lot of people who are very disheartened finding out this information. There's commenters saying things like, it's absolutely wild how somebody as smart as him can give into such destructive programming. On one hand, I'm glad he can admit this so he can encourage others to stop using AI, but it's really disappointing coming from somebody that seems to be educated. Another user says, the best time to use AI was never, the best time to quit is always. At least he's being mature by acknowledging a failing and stepping back. Another user writes, I'm very proud of my friend Hank Green for talking about how addictive LLMs can be and how the pressure to produce makes leaning on AI seem impossible to avoid. He's taking a break to recalibrate, which is a good example for all of us. We just want Hank Green. We don't need overstretched shortcuts through AI Hank just to have more Hank. But other people were also likening this situation with Hank Green and his admission of using generative AI to what a lot of POC authors have experienced, very notably Black authors. A user writes, look, I like Hank Green for the most part, but him getting thanked for talking about how addictive LLMs are and people giving him a pass is pure white male privilege. A Black author just got a $2.5 million book deal taken away because of an accusation after 14 editors revealed his work and was offered the deal. Yet we have Hank Green using AI for research to make content and accept it. Nah, this is BS and highly irresponsible. He should have known better. And they add limiting replies, etc. If you don't care about the social issue of why it matters and how a Black person was treated compared to a white man, I don't care. Read a book on the subject. And another user on Threads writes, this year we've seen 3 authors get attacked and 2 of them lost their deals over AI accusations. 2 of those authors were Black women, and while one's identity is protected, he wrote a story with a Nigerian main character. We've also seen James Frey, Carol Hart, and others proudly announce their AI usage, all white and not seem to experience any harm to their careers. Why do white AI users get praised while Black creatives lose their livelihoods just from an unverified suggestion? Bear with me on this, because a lot of times when I talk about this sort of like intersectionality, a lot of people get lost in the sauce, etc. But I think it is something that is very important to kind of discuss, because sure, right, not every single situation is going to be one-to-one overlapped, but it is something that should be mentioned. This is an article in New York Post titled Debut Novelist $2 million Deal for Amazing Book Canceled on Suspicions of AI Use, where it was a debut novel. So this is the author's first book. They won a $2 million deal and it was literally like yeeted the next day for suspected AI use. This book was so good, there were 14 bidders, people were fighting over it, people calling the book stunningly good, everyone fell in love with it, etc. But then there was potential AI suspicion, right? And the author denied that it was written with AI and insisted that this controversy was due to racial bias, stating 3 Black authors received major publishing deals this year and all 3 later had deals canceled or disrupted following suspicions about AI. There seems to be a troubling assumption that when a Black writer produces work that attracts significant attention, the work could not possibly be his own, and that AI detection tools are widely known to produce false positives, and that if the manuscript genuinely had AI in it, that there were a whole bunch of people that reviewed the manuscript before it went to this auction. So surely any of those people should have caught it. And what's one of the other situations mentioned? Well, it is with an extremely popular book called Daggermouth that is penned by an author named H.M. Wolf, who is also Black. And the Daggermouth has already had like a whole bunch of other controversy related to colorism of the character because people felt like the character art was not dark enough to represent the character's skin color. That's a whole other controversy. But here we're talking about this situation because a different article, this one written by The Atlantic, they did a study of books on Kindle and they used an AI checker to check for rare expressions, aka strings of 5 or more words that is commonly found in AI-generated writing, and that Daggermouth apparently has a lot of such phrases, including multiple sentences that appear word for word in self-published ebooks by other authors. And that the author of Daggermouth, H.M. Wolf, also denied it, saying, I have been outspoken about my opposition to generative AI and what it's doing to writers, artists, and the creative community. I don't believe it belongs in the writing process. But the article also adds, hey, looking at other parts of the writing process, though, Wolf writes slowly. It's not like she is cranking out massive amounts of books one every 2 weeks, where the speed alone would make you suspicious of AI usage. Where the Daggermouth was written, I think published in 2025, it says, and then the sequel is supposed to come out in 2027, like 2 years afterwards. The pacing of her writing does not make it feel like it's AI generated. And also people felt like this was very suspicious in terms of the timing of this article coming out because Daggermouth's traditional release was literally like a couple days ago, like right around when that article dropped. And other people had also noticed, hey, the guy who did the article, well, apparently, allegedly, according to people on threads, was actually emailing authors, asking for information about accessing their books to, quote, use as human-authored books to check against AI books, end quote. This was the Stony Brook University study where they were talking about this, where it was like, your books would help anchor that reference. But after that Atlantic article came out, people were basically dragging the Atlantic. It got community noted, saying there was no evidence Daggermouth was written by an AI bot. And people were also pointing out the fact that the study has also not been peer-reviewed and there's no definitive proof that Wolf used AI. Why was that the title then? And again, people were adding the fact that these sort of AI checkers, the one that was used in the study was called Pangram, is notoriously incorrect. This person fed an article that was, according to them, they know it's AI generated and it was flagged as 100% human. And other people have used AI checkers and they've put in works that were written by authors before AI existed. Like, I don't know, the Odyssey, for instance, as an example. I don't think that's the exact title, but they would put in notable classics and those classics were getting flagged as like 90% AI generated, which can't be possible. And on another note as well, there is also the controversy of feeding actual writing into AI checkers. So like feeding people's writing into AI, right? People are also like, that's not cool. Now, this might sound like a very, very long-winded tangent I'm going on, but arriving back at the original point I was trying to talk about is that this is an interesting dynamic that happens where I'm not saying that like we should absolutely cancel and drag Hank Green through the internet, but we have the case of these Black authors who were not proven to use AI. In fact, there is no evidence. There is only accusations, but these accusations are not proof. And unless there is legitimate substantial proof that they did use AI, I'm gonna assume that the checker is just wrong because they're notoriously inaccurate. And I never finished Daggermouth, but I did read like a 20% of it. And to me, it reads human made. Right? I've read a couple of AI books on this channel and you've seen me read them. They've instantly looked very AI generated with the, it's not this, but this, and I didn't want this, but that, the whole cadence. Daggermouth reads human written to me. But beyond that, again, these are two instances of two Black authors I just talked about who experienced massive amounts of controversy and detriment for something that was not even true. And in this other instance, we have a white male creator who admitted to using AI, and there is a fair amount of the public that's praising him for bringing awareness to how dangerous and addictive LLMs can be. And I do think multiple things can be true. And it can be true that like Hank Green is an educator who has made a lot of videos over the course of over a decade that has really helped out a lot of people and also fallen down the slippery slope of relying heavily on generative AI. And I don't think we should go there. And it can also be true that he's gonna have zero impact to his career from this, that other Black creators who have not been proven to use generative AI, because there is no evidence they did, suffering damage to their career. So I'm sorry, this is a very long-winded tangent, but it is something that I do want to bring light to because this is a point of contention that has been discussed around this controversy with Hank Green. At the end of the day, at least Hank Green came forward, apologized, and admitted to what he did, and that he's going to take steps back from engaging in behaviors that caused him to fall in this rabbit hole, essentially overworking himself. And hopefully he sticks to that and continue to make content in the same line, like the content back in the day that people really enjoyed from him. And in the same breath as well, I do think that a lot of Black writers, Black authors are getting unfairly, aggressively punished for things they didn't even do. And that it's not fair, and that the colorism is real there. And it is also something that should be kept in mind. So with that, at the end of the day, what are your thoughts on this entire thing? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Normally my videos are not this long-winded tangent-y, but I did want to talk about the whole Daggermouth and the situation with that $2.5 million book deal because it just didn't sit right with me personally. So anyways, yeah, if you like this video, appreciate it if you like and subscribe. I have the most cooked sunburn ever. Wear your sunscreen, kids. Please wear your sunscreen. If you have any tips on how to get rid of this. It's going to be the most horrific looking tan for a very long time. But low key, as it's like lightening up, it's getting kind of cute. So maybe. Anyways, yeah, check me out on my vlog channel, cat.yippee, or in another video. Peace.